there, I'm Mark, in affiliation with Spectrum Pulse, and yep, this is here, the Morgan Wallen album bomb, and this, it's Billboard BREAKDOwn.
I don't remember.
This might sound strange, but I'm gonna say it. I'm underwhelmed. Yeah, Morgan Wallen did what I expected him to do with this album bomb for I'm the Problem, the sort of explosion that sweeps away so much of the stagnant tracks occupying this year. But on some level, I feel like the impact could have been more all-encompassing and we'd be better for it. Sleep Token already put in some work in the album bomb last week, and while all of that got swept away, if you're expecting a few songs that have lingered at the top to get properly unseated, well, strap in. We weren't quite as lucky as we might hope. A lot might well be back next week, and it's not like Morgan Wallen improved the quality of the charts in aggregate anyway, just our luck. But you know what, let's get to that. The top 10, where Morgan Wallen did indeed take the number one with a depressingly calculated song, What I Want, featuring Tate McRae. I'll get more into this much later on, but I'm not remotely surprised that this was the play. Like most album bombs, it's most pronounced on streaming, but this was built for the pop crossover market. It's already been shipped to mainstream pop radio, and my guess is that when the full push properly comes in, this is gonna stick around as a hit. Maybe not going back to number one, but certainly a lot longer than anybody will like. The next two songs, they're also from Morgan Wallen though, and they've got the benefit of some radio in place, even though this is the order that they're technically charting on the streaming charts. Just in Case at number 2, and I'm the Problem at number 3. From there we got Ordinary by Alex Warren at number 4. Again, it's strong across the board. It's only gaining on the radio. This will likely go to number 1 next week, as I've been predicting for over a month now, and it handily beat back Luther by Kendrick Lamar and SZA down to number 5, where in between some streaming losses and tipping into decline on the radio, it might be starting to head out naturally. It'll probably regain some position next week, but not much more, following in the wake of Die With A Smile by Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars at number 6, which is also bleeding across the board, but a little bit slower. Then we got a couple more Morgan Wallen entries, starting with a new arrival and I Got Better at number 7, yeah, we'll see about that later on, and Superman at number 8, where again, just chalk this up to the order they show up on the streaming charts. Then by some minor miracle, we got a bar song Tipsy by Shabuzi at number 9, where despite losses, the radio inertia held up just enough, and then to end things off with one more Morgan Wallen song. Yes, there's 6 of them. Love Somebody is back in the top 10 as Leftover Radio is shoring up the streaming. Joy. Now this takes us naturally to the losers and dropouts, and as expected, we have a lot of both. In the latter category, this should be where you would expect that a lot of the Hot 100 might see some turnover heading into the summer months, because we are seeing a lot of long-running hits exit the charts. Not Like Us by Kendrick Lamar, Stargazing by Miles Smith, I Never Lie by Zach Top, not to worry, he got a year-end list spot for 2025, thank God, Taste by Sabrina Carpenter, might as well throw Busy Woman in there as well, even though it's well short of any year-end, Sailor Song by Gigi Perez, and Denial Is a River by Doechii, as I predicted. But that is the telling thing. Nearly all the songs I just mentioned have year-end list placement already. The only song that got knocked loose well short is Loco by Net and Vega, and while I'm not complaining, I think it speaks volumes that an album bomb as big as this didn't take out more songs that are just short of that year-end list, because this year has felt so stagnant that most of those tracks have not stayed around long enough in order to reach that territory. They've not gotten just short enough. Speaking of which, our losers here, where even as we have nearly 40 songs, I do want to go through them at least as a level set, starting off with the one debut from last week to lose with Marlboro Rojo by Fuerza Regida at 85. Then we got our gains shoved back as expected, Timeless by The Weeknd and Playboi Carti at 30. They also had Rather Lie at 98, and The Weeknd saw Cry For Me fall to 61. Am I Okay by Megan Maroney at 56, and Amen by Shabuzi and Jelly Roll at 82. Let's hope that recovers. Then we got our losers that just kept on losing. Really a mixed bag here, as Backup Plan by Bailey Zimmerman and Luke Combs slid down to 68. Hard Fought Hallelujah by Brandon Lake took a body blow to 80. Backseat Driver by Kane Brown skidded to 92. Twilight Zone by Ariana Grande fell to 96. And Por Esos Ojos by Fuerza Regida is at 100. And now, Yeah, the rest is gonna take a bit. Blue Strips by Jesse Murph thankfully lost some momentum at 26. That's So True by Gracie Abrams hit 36. No One Noticed by the Marias fell to 43. TV Off by Kendrick Lamar featuring Lefty Gunplay fell to 47. Kendrick also saw losses for Squabble Up at 55 and Peekaboo with AZ Chike at 87. From Somber, we got losses from both Undressed to 49 and Back to Friends at 62, and Abracadabra by Lady Gaga at 53. Then Benson Boone saw Mystical Magical falter at 57, thank God. Wildflower by Billie Eilish wilted down to 58. Hey Billboard, you could probably drop this into the recurrency. It's nearly at 30 weeks. It's below the top 50. Similar case for Good News by Shabuzi at 64. DTMF and Ballet Inolvidable by Bad Bunny at 66 and 94. Indigo by Sam Barber and Avery Anna at 78. Come on. Then there's Love Me Not by Raven Lene at 59 and Dark Thoughts by Lil Tech at 67. Finally, Party For You by Charlie XCX hit 71. Azizam by Ed Sheeran hit 74. Happen to Me by Russell Dickerson hit 75. Your Way's Better by Forrest Frank hit 76. Somebody Loves Me by Drake and Party Next Door hit 77. After All the Bars Are Closed by Thomas Rhett hit 81. Mijalo by Fuerza Regida and Grupo Frontera hit 89. More Bad Bunny with EO at 95. Revolving Door by Tate McRae at 97. And Wim Whamley by Pluto and YK Nice at 99. Now for the gains and returns. Look, there are no returns, and the only gains are from Morgan Wallen. Shocker. I Ain't Coming Back with Post Malone at 15, I'm a Little Crazy at 40, and Smile at 45. The real story here is the album bomb with 29 new songs. Suffice to say, it falls well into large album bomb conditions, where I'm covering the best, the worst, the top 20. Thank God that makes this week considerably more manageable. For all the rest of Morgan Wallen, Crazy Eyes at 88, Working Man Song at 84, Whiskey in Reverse at 83, LA Night at 79, Nothin Left at 73, Drink Until It Doesn't 72, Leavin's The Least I Can Do at 70, No Joke the closest to an honorable mention there, I'll give him that. Then we got The Dealer with Ernest at 69, Jack and Jill at 60, Revelation at 54, Number 3 and Number 7 featuring Eric Church at 52, Interlude at 51, yes really, Dark Till Daylight at 50, and then Don't We at 48. Then finishing it off, Missing at 42, If You Were Mine at 41, Where'd That Girl Go at 32, TN at 31, Skull, Chevy and Browning at 29, Eyes Are Closed at 22, and Kick Myself at 21. Okay. That thankfully makes this week a little bit easier to get through, so let's actually start our new arrivals not with Morgan Wallen at all. Number 91, Shake It to the Max Fly by MOLIY, Silent Addy, Skillibeng, and Shenseea.
Please just rewind, let me shake it to the max. Shake it to the max. Shake it to the max.
So I've been aware about this song for around a month now. The original from Afrobeats artist MOLIY and producer Silent Addy, getting a big remix with dancehall artists Skillibeng and Shenseea. It's been charting worldwide for a while now. It was kind of just a matter of time before it crossed over in some form. And I gotta be honest, it's been so long since we've gotten a credible twerking ass anthem that it feels explicitly built for the strip club. It almost feels like it's from a different time. The hazy woodwinds around the steady pulse of the bass line, amidst the occasional scratching and the gang vocals. This seems like it was built for the mid-2010s. Where it actually kind of surprised me most was the lack of any developed hammering trap percussion. That kind of makes it novel. And in a way, it's not bad for it. For what you would expect in this lane, it's pretty decent, with MOLIY's sheer chill balancing out pretty well with Shensea's aggressive flair. She absolutely steals the remix, where if there's a weakness on this song, it might actually be Skillibeng. Not that he's precisely bad so much as he's kind of inessential, except that it's very obvious he's only here to not make this a girls-only joint for global markets. That could lose some certain audiences, depressingly. That being said, I remember enough of these songs at their best that I feel like a little bit more energy or lyrical flair beyond the patois could have put this in a different tier. It's not bad for what it is, but outside of the novelty playing in 2025, I would struggle to call this special. That's all. Number 90, Don't Say You Love Me by Jin.
Just tell me that you wanna kill me. Don't say that you love me 'cause it hurts the most. You just gotta let me go.
And the only other song we got this week outside of Morgan Wallen is, well, from a BTS member. It's kind of interesting though that Jin's work in pop has generally been more likable than I've expected, even if he's playing to pretty stock templates, and thus with this song, which is entirely in English, again, it's decent. A solid bass line against the liquid guitars that reminds me a lot of Leave Before You Love Me by the Jonas Brothers and Marshmello, and while I don't love some of the over-compressive vocal mix even before the overdubs come in, it's a song post-breakup where despite not over it all over both of them, he's telling her to let them go so they can move on, even as on the verses he's now actively regretting it. So yeah, in retrospect, not far at all removed from Leave Before You Love Me in the content either, and this does really feel like the off-brand version of that better song, if not by much. So yeah, probably the weakest of what I've heard from Jin so far, but you know, if you want to talk about off-brand garbage, number 65, Miami by Morgan Wallen.
I can keep my gun in my truck and they don't know my name at these bars, and you can't even see any stars in.
If there's a song that nobody seems to like from this new Morgan Wallen album, it's this, and for damn good reason. Everything about it feels wrong and damn near offensive. In theory, I get what it's trying to do. Trying to pull together a chic, quasi-Miami Vice vibe by way of that modern clicking hip-hop percussion, blended with that slick minor key new wave guitar nestled into the mix, with a prominent pitch-shifted sample of an old 80s soft country song. Already starting on a bad note for me because the sample's chipmunked and I hate how glassy and compressed this mix is before the post-chorus drop chops it up, but the context makes it worse. This sample's from Miami, My Amy by the late Keith Whitley, a critically beloved singer-songwriter who never quite saw the success in Nashville he deserved because he died young of alcoholism. And I get why someone like Morgan Wallen might be drawn to Whitley's story, so why in the nine hells did you flip a sweet love song into the sleazy beach hookup that references sand in my boots on the hook? What even tone are you attempting here? Every listen just sends this tremble of rage surging down my spine. I hate this so much. And yet, I'm still not quite sure it's the worst on this album. But while we're in that territory, number 63, Come Back as a Redneck by Morgan Wallen featuring Hardy.
I hope it sticks on you like a hell hot sun tattoo. I hope you break your back for that barely get by paycheck. And when you can't, you gotta go and bloody up a buck or two.
This track just pisses me off. In principle, I get calling out the trust fund city slicker who looks down on folks in the backwoods, wishing that that guy could spend a day in their shoes. That's not an unfamiliar concept in country, but since this is coming from Morgan Wallen and Hardy of all people, we're getting the douchiest version of it imaginable. Not only does he want this person to come back as a redneck, but also for them to be poor and for their life to aggressively suck so they can learn the error of their ways and understand why nobody leaves those backwoods towns. And you know what? Maybe I might buy this coming from an indie country act where there could be some credible grit or homespun detail, but not from Nashville bro country studio ringers like Morgan Wallen, especially Hardy, who spend more time cosplaying as rednecks than actually living it. Don't sell me this crap, especially given how goddamn slick and overproduced their output tends to be. Credits to them for at least trying to add a little bit more organic warmth in the guitars even if it goes nowhere. In what universe do you get off trying to talk down to those guys when you're probably drinking with the same corporate Music Row bars? Because those trust fund dudes, they love gone country. This is trading one sour, disingenuous, but aggressively conservative framing for another. Quite frankly, it's too stupid to identify any systemic causes beyond envy, a sin that brings no pleasure. And man, this sucks. Number 46, Genesis by Morgan Wallen.
Now it's the devil's playground everywhere that I look. Swear it's there in my blood. I was born to be lost. Lot of lines that I crossed, little more than I should.
One observation I've made with I'm the Problem is that in its most self-destructive moments, it could have actually afforded to go darker, show more of the consequences that could well wreck his life or those around him. And if there's a song that gets close to making it feel kind of biblical, it is this one. I actually like how much of the track pulls on the framing of original sin from Genesis and the vices that consume Morgan Wallen's life, where the momentum is kept just fast enough that he can't keep track of all of his stumbling. And on the second verse, he acknowledges that he's probably not gonna learn his lesson, and the downward spiral is only gonna continue, with every attempt to get free only just gonna yank him back down. But what worked strongest for me here was the composition and the melody itself. The swampier guitar rollick around the cushion of acoustic guitar, where the tempo and groove is kept pretty fast and more organic, with the occasional menacing reverbed echo deep in the mix, where the synth gloss only accentuating the liquid unreality of the scene and being so intoxicated. Paired with one of the strongest melodic hooks on the album, yeah, I'll call quality when I hear it. Solid track. It's pretty good. Number 34, Kiss Her in Front of You by Morgan Wallen.
You through the hell that you put me through. Baby, I can't wait to see the look on your pretty face when I break your heart in two. Yeah, you know that
One thing I've realized about the worst tracks on I'm the Problem is how revealing they are of Morgan Wallen just being a remarkably unpleasant person to be around. And nearly always when he's at his worst is when he's trying to be the catty asshole. Hence we've got the most obvious example of it on this album, and man, this is just the worst. Morgan Wallen gets dumped, likely for obvious reasons, and yet he's found someone new, who he describes as only some new blue eyes, very clearly disposable, where he's gonna kiss her in front of his ex and then try to ruin her night at her favorite bar. And I kept waiting for the twist. On the first verse, it's established the ex rebounded quickly, so I expected Morgan Wallen would see his revenge plan fall apart in his hands as, I mean, he's projecting so hard that she's not over him, but maybe she's moved on with someone new. But it never happens, and it just screams of this vindictive pettiness. And even then, maybe it could have worked if the execution wasn't so carefully crafted, with all the sour strings and clicking twinkles and a rap flow that feels so overworked in the Eminem lane of trying to sound so precise it ruins the groove, and at least until he starts braying like a jackass. Pun intended. You know, at least in post-grunge or nu metal, there was some muscle or sneering intensity, not this frail miasma of ugly gloss. This is 2025's Thinking About Me is just as poisonous. Dreadful song, my god. Number 25, Falling Apart by Morgan Wallen.
Without your arms to hold me together, baby, I'm falling apart. Baby, I'm falling apart.
This is gonna sound insane, but the first time I heard the guitar line of this song, I was actually reminded a bit of the darker mid to late 90s progressive and alternative rock scene. The sodden guitar chords strike a weirder, more surreal tone as they set the haunted vibe of the song. And it had me wishing that Wallen could have taken more chances in the compositions on the album, even if the vocal mixing could have afforded to be way more organic in order to match that feel. Steven Wilson, this is not. But the lyrical content also kind of works in this vein. He's the guy who dumped the girl, and amidst the overcast hangover post-blackout on the couch, I like the details setting the regretful mess in place, and how much he desperately pleads for her to come back when he can't even think of the old and likely very stupid reasons he let her go, but he's also self-aware enough to know she's not coming back. And the rest of the hammer, it's probably on the way down. Morgan Wallen rarely looks this pathetic on I'm the Problem, and that is a problem because it's also where he garners the most sympathy here, and it leads to one of the most poignant moments on the entire album. He might be falling apart, but it made for a really damn good song. I'll give him this one too. Number 20, 20 Cigarettes by Morgan Wallen.
Me walk on that redwood deck on the Montbriand. She was with her friends, left them standing there. There was more than smoke in that summer air.
Okay, cute chart placement aside for this, I'm not surprised that it wound up as high as it did. Shorter runtime, the warmer patter, the fact that it's one of the few songs that has a slightly upbeat framing and lyrical arc, where Morgan Wallen meets with a woman and burns through a pack of 20 cigarettes in their boozy encounter. It's not a bad countdown gimmick, but I got two major issues with it. The first, that it feels weirdly incomplete. The verses feel structured like a hook, the chorus pattern never swings back around to properly end the song. Hell, the entire ending's kind of abortive after the last 4 bars before even going into the instrumental. Even if it's intentional to leave the audience hanging, when so much of your project is in that sloshy mid-tempo, a more definitive ending and landing would have helped this stick out more. The other issue is that, on some level, it's just a considerably weaker version of Sand in My Boots. Weaker hook, weaker structure, a lot less chemistry between the couple. It's just way less impressive. It's not bad, but for an album cut, not exactly memorable either. Number 7, I Got Better by Morgan Wallen.
But it turned out me and you together's why it took so long. Cause I got better since you got gone.
You see, the sentiment here, placing this right after the title track, I'm the Problem, is that he's only better now that the girl is out of his life. And to be fair, as someone who's been in turbulent relationships in the past where one might feel browbeaten or gaslit, it's a fine sentiment. I like that Morgan Wallen emphasizes that his friends have seen an improvement in his life and demeanor. He's talking more to his mom and his family. The song just feels more relaxed as a result. He found community. That matters. And the softer but brittle clattering patter isn't bad to set the atmosphere. It's got the feel of a muggy, overcast day where he's still trying to put his life back together. He's got real healing and work to do, but he just breathes a little easier, and that might be enough. But man, that mewling guitar tone, something about how it's submerged alongside the pedal steel just sounds really goopy to me. That kills the immersion. It's a nitpick, sure, but it pushes me from liking this as much as I would like, beyond the complaint that this probably should have been placed way deeper in the track list in order to set up the recovery arc, not right after the title track as number 2. So yeah, I probably like this a little bit more than 20 cigarettes, but he's done much better. It's just okay. And finally, number 1, What I Want by Morgan Wallen featuring Tate McRae.
She touched us, goes up in smoke. Only stay a couple nights, then she gon' be gone. I said, baby, you should know that's what I want. That's what I want. That's what I want.
And now we got a brand new number 1, the very first of Tate McRae's career. She probably thinks it was worth the sacrifice of any dignity here right now. Wonder if that thought will stick around. But the more I listen to this track, the less I like it from pretty much every angle. Yeah, the banjo rollick isn't bad, blended through the more developed acoustic line. I think if you're looking for this sort of canned pop, trap, country, there is enough melodic hooks to make it stick, maybe even go viral. But the second the trap percussion slides in, it's impossible not to notice how sterile and dour it is. Quick sidebar, I remember folks saying that Mood by 24K Golden and Ian Dior had a similar sort of antiseptic, genreless, and joyless vibe, but at least there was an exasperated immaturity to that song that gave the hook some life instead of this ugly wallow in misery where they're both sad and heartbroken, why not fuck? But it's hard not to hear Morgan Wallen's more defined vocal presence is just taking over the song, where Tate McRae succumbs to being just another girl that he's gonna discard. I guess she's gonna go along with it. It's also a rather pathetic song, but seemingly with less self-awareness. It sure as shit isn't romantic or sexy beyond playing to Morgan Wallen's cheap gratification. Do you think the reason that Tate McRae is here is because she's having a hot year on the charts, or because no other woman on Mercury Republic in pop or country would say yes to this? That's the other thing. I can't even say it's great for business. Tate McRae is on RCA under Sony. That's a different label arrangement. Unless they're on a similar management agency somewhere from the bowels of hell, I don't think the splits from any of this are going to help her beyond, oh yeah, she got a number 1 on a song that probably should have been given to Jesse friggin' Murph. So no, it's not the worst song on I'm the Problem, but it's by far the most cynical and lacking in distinctive quality. You might as well pencil this in early onto any critic's worst list of those who focus on the absence of good. Probably pretty high on that list too. And yeah, I can't say I blame them. And the fact that y'all took this to number 1 off of a majority of streaming, that's as much of a problem. Probably will not be examined by that audience, but you should. Just saying. So yeah, not exactly a great week. Unsurprisingly, Morgan Wallen is occupying every spot for both best and worst. Let's start off with the former. I think Genesis is just gonna edge out Falling Apart, although it is shockingly close. Whereas for the worst, you know what? I'm giving a tie between Kiss Her in Front of You and Miami. I can't quite decide at the moment which is more loathsome and gross, and they only just beat out the dishonorable mention for Come Back as a Redneck with Hardy. Next week, well, I guess we're sifting through the wreckage and rebuild. Stay tuned for that. But until then, I'm Mark. You're watching Billboard Breakdown, affiliated with Spectrum Pulse. And I'll see you next time.